I'm so glad you can join us today. I have been so fortunate to have met this lovely Anne Picard. She has written a book. It's about peace and pancakes. It's basically a really, really inspirational book for children. And she's an artist also. She draws, she paints, and she's fabulous. And this is Anne. Say hi.
Hi. Nice to be here.
Nice to see you.
Good.
What inspired you to write this book?
Well, I worked with children. I love working with children. And I worked with children for many, many years, and I could sense there was nothing on the shelf, nothing on the shelf that could help them figure out what to do when they find themselves being like a victim in a situation in which somebody can be hurtful and insensitive and all those kinds of things. And so that was one of my main thrusts. I worked with children basically who were experiencing lots of behavioral problems. They just couldn't make sense out of many things in school. And they really couldn't make sense when someone was treating them poorly. I mean, that would upset them pretty substantially. So I used to work with both the children who had difficulties with individuals who did not know and did not have many social skills, and also children who really did not know what do you do? What do you do when someone's treating you so mean, especially if you're scared of them?
Yeah.
So the book kind of stems from putting something on the shelf that would say, here's some hints. Here are some hints. The dragon, who has to learn just like you do, he'll show you some of the things you can do. And so that's what the story is basically about. This little dragon, brand new to into the world, learns how to deal with, in this case, a very angry, upset giant. And there's nothing like an upset giant.
Oh.
So he's scared, his friends are scared, and he doesn't know what to do. But he's living with a little creature who was to be his teacher until the dragon, the nation of dragons became a little more settled. So he was literally had a little gnome teaching him by the name of Frederick.
Oh, gnome.
A little creature. And the little creature was very wise, like Yoda, you know, in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Very small, but very wise. So he starts teaching the little dragon. And those are the skills that he taught the little dragon are the skills I wanted my children to have. One is, for instance, the ability to simply be patient. Wait till things happen. Find out how to do something. So that's the first task he has to do, is he has to have someone take the time, or he has to take the time in order to have a little mouse sit on his hand for 10 seconds.
Oh, how sweet.
Well, it sounds simple, but it's not as easy as you think. What silly mouse is going to sit on a dragon's hand and 3-4 times his size, and he doesn't know him from a whole, you know, so he's not going to do that easily. So he had to learn to be trusted. There's the patience part. Someone had to learn to trust him. And then there are the other skills too.
Like children need to learn to trust.
Oh, yes. They do, and they know it isn't something that happens quickly. It takes time. And then the little gnome, Frederick, teaches him something that's a lot harder, and that is to swim with the orca whales. Of course, dragons love water now, so you don't have no problem with water. But he sure didn't know what to do with orca whales, and they're pretty huge. Yeah. And he wasn't that big. And again, he had to find out if they were friendly. He finds out they're very friendly. They're just being orca whales. And so the second task he has to learn basically is he has to learn to be sharp enough and mindful enough and alert enough to pick up another animal's language.
Oh, that was hard.
How can you talk and share with someone unless you really know the culture they're from and know at least a good part of their language? So that was his second task. And being the dragons are sharp creatures, he didn't take too long to do that, but I'm sure he could have learned even more if he had stayed. So that was the second job. Listen close enough to pick up a language. That was not easy for good old dragon here. The third and last one is the hardest one, and that's why I put something extra in the book about that. He learns to fly with an eagle. And flying with an eagle, you're going to come from a whole different perspective. You're going to be up high. You're going to see things from a whole different angle.
Right.
So he has friends on the ground level. He went to the sea level, and now he's up in the air. So
Wow.
he has to learn to see things from a whole different angle, and I call it seeing from the heart. And I think, basically speaking, kids have no trouble understanding that.
Smart idea.
The children
from the
have
heart.
no trouble at all.
What a beautiful, beautiful concept.
And the children don't have any trouble
Oh, I
knowing.
bet they-
The
of
adults
course
have
they
a
do.
little trouble though,
Probably.
because
How do you see from the heart?
yeah, exactly. They'll say to me, "Well, what are you talking about? You know, what do you mean by that?"
Yeah.
And so I did write out a slip to
But
put
the
in
children,
the
yeah, the children know.
book. The children know
Listening to you will help you grow in compassion.
right,
And confronting you will help you make the next choices.
or comforting you. I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
comforting
comforting
you.
you.
Comforting you
comforting
will,
is a
will
big
help
one.
you, yeah, make the next choices.
So
That's
it's something
true.
that helps
Comforting.
validate children,
Yes.
because the dragon was being taught, Grendel was
Yeah.
being taught something that validated who he was. He had the gift to be a peacemaker.
Right.
At learning those 3 skills, he ends up being pretty powerful. And children are all powerful
Oh, my,
if they're
yes.
validated and we see
Yes.
them with the heart and we help
Yes.
them use their skills. So that's the
we've
key
got-
of the story.
That's a beautiful story. I just think that that it has such a strong meaning for children today. Especially, they need to realize that they can soar with the eagles. And they can
Right. They can see things
they
differently.
can see things differently
Right.
than what's just in front of them.
The one part that I love in the book and watch their children's faces is when he meets up with the giant.
Oh yeah, I
And
bet
they think, oh, what's going to happen now? You know,
something's
there's
going to happen
two-
horrible.
Two huge creatures
Yeah.
looking each other in the eye.
Yeah.
But he does use his skills. He is very patient with this big Thor, the giant, and he starts listening to him. And he, in fact, they're both pretty hungry at one point, and so he makes pancakes for them. So they become friends, and they start
Oh, they
listening
have
to each other.
pancakes.
You got it. Pancakes come in real handy when you have a hungry giant.
Oh yes.
And of course, he was a hungry dragon at that point too. So they have these beautiful conversations, and they get to know each other. And that's another skill I want the children to learn.
Yeah.
You really need to take time to sit down with someone and get to know them. See their side of the world.
Before
see
you
their
judge them.
ideas. Yes,
Yeah.
no judgment. Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that children often see is, well, Grendel didn't get angry at him like all the other animals. No, because he waited to get to know him.
Right.
And you find out that the giant clearly has some major things going on. First of all, he lost a significant other.
Oh.
Now, did he have a right to be a bully around the neighborhood? No.
No.
No. But he was very much
he
a
was
hurting, sad and lonely. Right. So, when Grendel gets to know him, they actually get to be pretty good friends. In fact, at one point, I love when the giant says, "You know, I like the way you listen to me."
Oh.
That's what a friend does.
That's true.
And so you get a sense
is
that
true.
no matter what a person's behavior is like, you have to go beyond what you just hear from the outside.
That's for sure.
And at the end, he definitely saw the loneliness. He saw Thor with his heart and realized that the man really needed to be reinstalled in the community, start all
Right.
over again. You know,
Start over.
start all over again. So that's another reason why I made it. I had several opportunities where children would sit around a table like this, and they were so angry at that child.
Ooh.
Well, the child would do things like mess up their soccer game, or
Mess up their soccer game.
oh, you bet, he'd kick the ball out of line, or he.
Yeah.
Well, and then you get all those children to sit together and hear from the bully first. I always had the bully talk first.
Oh, that was a smart idea.
And guess what? They realized there was a lot going on besides just kicking a ball out.
Yes.
Found out this one particular child simply was new to the school and had no friends, and they hadn't allowed him in the game yet.
Oh, they knew nobody.
And that was one way for him to get in the game.
was to
make himself obnoxious
make
and
him
knock the ball out.
obnoxious, Yeah.
So it was very interesting after meeting with them at the table like this, just like Grendel
Yeah.
does in this book. You hear the children listen to him and his feelings. He listened to their feelings. And then they both said what they needed. And
They both understood that they were the
That's right.
same.
there's a beautiful organization right now called NVC, Nonviolent Communications. It's the most powerful system
Oh, I
where
love
you
that.
end up really being truthful with your own feelings, but you also allow them to have feelings. And then you literally make a connection. I think we've gotten ourselves in such a polarized positioning
Yes.
that right now with politics and all
And
the
with
different
cell
topics,
phones and with texting, and
we don't make a
nobody
connection.
talks to each other anymore.
Right. Well,
I mean, I see it all the time. There's two people together, and they text message each other instead of talking to each other.
Right.
I don't understand it.
So the whole
This
purpose
is good.
the whole purpose of the book really was to give children some options, some skills to learn. Actually, teachers are teaching most of these skills.
Oh, thank God.
And also to have an opportunity to have another point of view on behavior that is really kind of stands out, so they don't have to become a victim of it.
Right.
They can
Yes,
sit
it's
down
good.
and talk it through with a teacher, hopefully, or another adult. And I
Hopefully.
notice grandpa and grandmas have enjoyed the book because they thought, this is a way I can explain to them how to handle things. So I've seen a lot of
Right.
grandparents do a beautiful job with this.
Right.
Schools are using it as a motivation to really take a closer look at bullying in a classroom or in a whole school system.
Wow.
So that they really are made more aware of what do we need to do to make it stop, any form of it.
Got to
any
stop
form of it.
bullying in
No child
schools.
deserves it.
No,
Anytime.
no,
anytime.
no.
No time at all. So it's had some real power, and I'm grateful it has. I'm really grateful
Well,
for
how
that piece.
did you let me ask you this. When you did all the illustrations in this book.
I did this time.
This book is so darling. Look at this. This is not adorable. Oh, I love it. Look at this dragon. I mean,
He's waiting for the mouse to come out.
he's waiting for
That's the one he had to wait really patient with, because the little mouse wouldn't come out
Look
at
at
all.
these pancakes flying in the air. Isn't this adorable? And then she has it in Spanish also.
Yes, I've got quite a few
Because-
in my family now that talk
Because
different language.
he learned a different language, right?
Right, he did. And I have several in my family that are bilingual or
Yes.
trilingual.
Good, that's
So-
wonderful.
Oh, it's time. It's time, folks.
yes.
It's time.
Well, I don't know about Minnesota, but I know in California
Right.
that we need the Spanish.
Oh.
I mean, I speak a little Spanish myself because I'm from there, but you need to have that because Mexico is right there.
Right,
now, and,
right.
and the kids and the people are. We need to
Actually,
be able to speak other languages.
We have schools in St. Paul that have over 12 languages.
Oh, good.
So
well, my
speaking
goodness,
of
that's
challenges,
wonderful.
but how do you culturally understand each other? That's
Well, see, that's the problem. The culture. I think that's
they
what
need
the
to
problem
understand,
is.
and that's what the whole purpose of some of those schools are now. The charter schools is to help individuals understand different.
Different cultures.
Very different cultures, right?
And I, lived in Hawaii as a child.
Oh,
So I was the only haole. I was the only white American. They call us haoles in school. My brother and I. We lived off the base, and we lived in a makaha. Went to school in Waianae. We were the only white American kids in the whole school.
whoa! You got to know what it is
So
to be a minority.
I know what it is to be a minority, and I know what it is to be beat up on the street and
not
sit
understood,
pushed
yeah.
under the rocks and stuff. Yeah, because they didn't understand us either.
That was,
that's
that's exactly what I
this
want, is
Yeah.
the children to have the opportunity now to understand all the different cultures that are part of our whole new United States.
Yes, it is.
Our melting pot is well melted, and we're building a new pot. There's no question about that one.
New pot.
A new pot.
Great big new
New
pot.
pot. And we do need to understand, though, how to make it into a very
Loving and caring and
caring.
and make sure that we all can get along.
right.
You
Or
know,
understand each
and
other and be able to
understand.
negotiate with each other.
That's what it is. I think people don't understand different cultures.
Right. We come at things from very different points of view and different cultural understanding of justice, medicine, everything.
Yeah,
political.
everything.